Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Richard Clark. I'm a hypnotherapist over the last 8 years, and I've been a holistic therapist for over the last 14 years. As a Throwback Thursday, I share my favourite films, favourite TV programmes, and my favourite albums, as I'm going to carry on this series about Richard Linklater, who's an American director's films. And I'm going to talk about another film of his, which is using the animation idea, which is from Waking Life, but this is called A Scanner Darkly. Now, A Scanner Darkly is a 2006 adult animated science fiction thriller film written and directed by Linklater, and it's based on the 1977 novel of the same name by Philipkdick. Philip K. Dick, I have mentioned in another video, was the guy who came up with the idea of Blade Runner, which is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? He also did The Man in the Iron Castle, which is where it's actually the Second World War was won by Japan and Germany, how they split the world up. Philip K. Dick wrote a lot of futuristic ideas, Total Recall as well. So anyway, this film tells the story of an identity and deception in a near future dystopia consistently under intrusive high-tech police surveillance in the midst of a drug addiction epidemic. So some ideas of the future, some ideas of what probably is like the 60s and the counterculture sort of mixed together. It was shot digitally and then animated using the rotoscope idea, an animated technique in which animators trace over the original footage frame by frame for use in live action and animated films. So basically what you've got is the live action and then imagine me animated on top. Quite a clever technique. And it's also done in a program called Undone, which is also Amazon, and I'll talk about that another time in my favourite TV shows. So the film features performances by Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, and Winona Ryder, and did very well. Got a lot of ideas. A lot of people won it for artistic merit. So the plot of this film is: in the near future, the United States has lost the war on drugs, which is something which now we see with the idea of fentanyl is having a problem in America. So substance D, a powerful drug that causes bizarre hallucinations, has swept the country. Approximately 20% of the population is addicted. The government has developed an invasive, high-tech surveillance system and a network of undercover officers and informants. Now, Bob Arctor is an undercover agent assigned to immerse himself in the drugs underworld and infiltrate the supply chain. Arctor has a vision of being in his house with his wife and 2 children in Anaheim, California. Today, he has 2 drug-addicted layabout housemates, Luckman and Barris. The 3 spend time taking D, this drug, and having complex, possibly paranoid examinations of their experiences. At the police station, Arctor maintains privacy by wearing a scramble suit that constantly changes every aspect of his appearance and voice. He's only known by the code name Fred. Arctor's senior officer, Hank, and all the undercovers wear scramble suits protecting their identities even from each other. Has become addicted to substance D and buys from Donna, who Arctor hopes to purchase large enough quantities of D from so that she is forced to introduce him to her supplier. They have a tense, at times caring romantic relationship, but she rebuffs his physical advances. At work, Hank orders Fred to increase surveillance on Arctor and his associates. So Arctor's house is at the centre of this investigation, since when this is where Donna and the other addicts spend time. Arctor is unexpectedly negotiating a double life, and his use of D is damaging his brain, so he's also having a bit of a forgetting who he is in reality and where he's pretending to be undercover, which obviously he's worried that he's going to be found out. Barris is informing on Arctor to Hank, arguing that Arctor is a terrorist and angling to be hired as a cop. Barris unknowingly conveys this information in the presence of Arctor, who is hidden behind his scramble suit, so they start working it out, and he's then got to try and hide it all. Hank reveals to Fred that he's long known that he is Arctor, who seems surprised and repeats his name in disoriented, unfamiliar tone. Hank informs him that the real purpose of the surveillance is to catch Barris, and that the police were deliberately increasing Barris's paranoia until he attempted to cover his tracks. Being addicted to substance D, and warns him that he will be disciplined. Hank explains how seriously brain damaged Arctor has become from D, and Hank phones Donna, asking her to come pick up Arctor and take him to a New Path, a corporation that runs rehabilitation clinics. Hank leaves and in private removes his scramble suit, revealing Donna. At the New Path clinic, Arctor and other D addicts show serious cognitive deficiencies. So this is the idea, is that they reckon a lot of these drugs is the morphing of reality and how that works. and how then people start losing their identity. And this also happens with a lot of people who have been former drug addicts. So when we work with people in hypnotherapy, we have to work out why they became into drug addicts, what part of their memories they've lost, what things they want to carry on with, how they want to improve. And with all this, it's kind of in that archetype of why did they get into drugs, why did they get into this state. Then obviously they're clean, some of them are clean, most of them are clean I've worked with, and then we actually then look at where the future lies, where they are still clean, because that's where a lot of drug addicts, as soon as they get going to rehabs and then they're clean, how are they going to use them tools they've learned in rehab to hopefully not get addicted to drugs again. Very hard, because most people who go to rehabs fail. It's like a 95% failure rate, so it's incredibly tough. Anyway, to go back to the story, just to explain it, and so we can go into other topics within this. Donna, now known as Audrey, meets with my fellow police officer. They discuss how New Path is secretly responsible for the manufacture and distribution of substance D. So the rehab is actually, the clinic is actually where they manufacture it. Audrey expresses her growing ethical aversion to their police work, in which they deliberately recruited Arctor without his knowledge to become addicted to D. His health sacrifice that he might eventually enter a New Path rehabilitation centre unnoticed as an addict and collect incriminating evidence of New Path's D's farm, these places where they create the drugs. Audrey and Mike debate whether Arctor's mind will recover enough to grasp the situation. New Path sends Arctor to a labour camp at an isolated farm where he mindfully repeats what others tell him. Tending to crawl crops, Arctor discovers hidden rows of the blue flowers that produce D. He secretly hides one flower in his boot to bring to his friends at his next holiday from the farm. So unfortunately, Arctor, who's Keanu Reeves' character, is also then Fred and Bruce, is also then they have these problems of trying to work out what that is. And all these different things are people of multiple characters. So Winona Ryder is Donna plus Audrey plus Hank. So these are where the idea is they're trying to find out these things, but then obviously it backfires on them. The idea of philipkdick, why he came up with this book or this story, and then obviously Linklater came up with the film, is to show how the way the future will work, and this idea of the suits, people can then change their identity, change how they look, change how they behave, and this is something most people do. And this is also, people are worried about this with AI, because AI and androids could actually replicate clones of people, and they are looking at cloning as well. So this is also, all these sort of subjects are also within this film. So obviously with the future, people also are worried about the future, and this is what one of my fear phobias is going to talk about, the future, that people are actually afraid of the future and technology. That's something I will talk about. But anyway, with this film, interesting idea, probably not so commercial for Linklater, but it's a very good book, and actually a very good adaptation of a Philip K. Dick book, pretty accurate actually. So anyway, I will talk about his next film, which took 12 years to make, and it's very diverse and interesting compared to this.